Hey guys, how's it going? Octopus here and welcome to my impression of the Kingdom Hearts 3 demo that I got to play last Friday. Before I start this video, I do want to say thank you to SquareEnix for inviting me out to this event. It was just so amazing and I'm so thankful that I got to be one of the first to play Kingdom Hearts 3, and I hope I do it justice by actually going over all the pros and the cons of how I felt the game was. So I want to start off with the characters and the environment. It was just so amazing to see Sora, Donald, and Goofy enter the world of Toy Story, especially because they seem to have really worked on that a lot. You could really tell because everything seemed so authentic compared to the movie. Andy's room looked gorgeous. Outside the house looked amazing. The Galaxy's toy store was just breathtaking. It was very flashy at the same time too, but I want to go over all the pros first and then I'm going to go into the cons in this video. So first off, let me just say that they did a great job capturing the life of the Pixar movie Toy Story. They did a great job on Olympus, especially because of the lighting, the environment, the change in the weather. As you got higher, the music was just epic. It did such a good job at it. So let me start off with the environment. The environment in Olympus was the first demo I got to play, and it was just so breathtaking, guys. You start off at the bottom of a mountain. You got to scale up walls and go towards the Rock Titan, and as you did that, the environment got to change. It went from like very sunny to very dark to stormy and rainy, and they did a great job with the lighting and everything, especially the music. It just brought the atmosphere together so good, so nicely that you felt like you were there. The combat itself, when it came to that, was very straightforward. You got to test out a little bit on the Heartless inside a cave area, and then you went straight to the Rock Titan after climbing a little bit more walls. Now, the first thing I want to say about the environment is the wall scaling. It was very smooth. It was very easy to get attached to. All you have to do is walk forward into the wall, and Sora kind of just threw himself upwards. There was a little bit of tilting that you can go left and right and walk up the wall, but when you want to turn left and right, it was like a straight turn. It felt kind of awkward at first, but you got used to it. I was going to put that on my cons a little bit, that they kind of could make it smoother, where the transition of turning kind of went on an angle a little bit instead of just a straight 90 degree turn, but it wasn't that bad, and I don't think it deserves as a con. It can be tweaked, but if it stays the way it is, it's totally fine. And then you had Toy Story. Toy Story was just like the next level. Like, Rock Titan looks so good. It had so many detail on the rocks itself, especially when Sora jumped over the arm and all that. But in Toy Story, during the cutscenes did such a great job. You saw Woody, you saw Buzz, you saw Rex, Ham. All of them had little scuffs, marks. You seen like the wear and tear from just being Andy's toys over the years. It wasn't just like smooth characters and that's it. It wasn't perfection. It actually showed aging of characters and fine detail. In Andy's room, there was so much detail put in there. There was garbage laying around the floor, balls that you could ride, a tennis ball you could kick around. There was the bed. I actually did it in my demo where I walked on the bed and you can see Sora actually pressing down on the bed where he walked. It wasn't just a hard surface. It actually showed the texture and the way a bed would move if someone was on it, especially a little toy. The same thing, there was a beanbag chair in the corner. That did the same thing. When you stepped on it, it went downwards properly. It wasn't just like weird. Every spot had a proper kind of weight and lift to it. So there's a lot of attention to the environment and the objects in the room. It wasn't just like, oh, this is here just for looks. It actually had some ragdoll physics as well when it came to like the pop cans and the garbage. There was a lot of detail to that. And then you kind of went outside and the lighting and the environment just looked so good. I cannot express how much work they put into it to make it look flawless, and I think that when it comes to the cinematics and the way the environment looks, they hit the nail on the head. It just breathtaking, guys. So for characters and environment, I think they did a great job. For the voice acting, everything was perfect except for Woody, but Woody wasn't terrible. It's no Tom Hanks, but guys, the actors still did a pretty good job. I could let it slide with how many voice actors they got on par. I believe Rex and Ham were original voice actors. Buzz wasn't, but Buzz sounded amazing regardless. Sora, oh, Sora was just it was so good. I never got the chance to actually hear Sora's voice in Dream Drop Distance because I didn't get to play that for myself, which I know you guys are gonna be like, well, then you can't really. I know. I watch a couple things here and there, but Sora's voice in this, guys, sounded just so good. I could not say anything wrong with it. Every scene that he actually got to talk in, it was just exactly what my ears wanted. It was beautiful. So with that being said, basically the environment, the characters, the voice acting, that was just all perfect, guys. I have nothing bad to say about that. Now for the cutscenes and the interaction between the characters, guys, it was just really good. It felt great to see like Donald and Goofy fooling around again, and all the characters actually talking together. They was very flashy. You can see the emotions in each character. It wasn't just like they were standing there and doing nothing. There was a lot of movement, a lot of swinging, a lot of lighting. They just did an amazing job with the cutscenes. And actually, out of the cutscenes, when you walk up to the characters, there is no more text box. Like, as soon as you go up to a character and you talk to them, they have more voice acting. So my voice acting career in my streams is over. I'm going to put that in the con somewhere down the line, but it's a pro because it's kind of nice to see that. It doesn't take away from the immersion, like I said before. You go straight from cutscenes to seeing the characters on the actual environment, and you can talk to them, and they actually have their voice actors voicing those scenes. So it was just a very nice thing to see. Kind of killed me inside that I can't read them and make my own goofy voices for them anymore, but it was just something that was really nice. Another thing I want to touch up on, the actual environment itself. In the games I have played, the Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, basically the environments were kind of lackluster. They weren't as much as I would expect in a game, especially in Kingdom Hearts 2. A lot of the world seemed very empty, like Agrabah, to take an example. When I played Agrabah, there was just nothing there except for enemies, a little bit here and there, and it just seemed very platforming. Like, it was just like jump on a building, find a chest, run to an enemy, kill it, and then run to the cutscenes. But in this, it was just very open world. There was no loading screens, guys. It's another pro, no loading screens. The loading screen you had is when you first initially enter the area, but once you're in the area itself, you went from Andy's room to the backyard, to the streets, to the garden. There was no loading in between. You can explore the entire area, and there was so much life to everything. And then you got into the Galaxy Toys, and it went from the first floor, second floor, to the third floor. The only loading screens there was for cutscenes and stuff like that. Everything else is just so smooth. You can enter a toy store and then come out of it without an issue. There was nothing with loading screens. It was just so beautiful to see that you didn't have to wait, and it didn't take anything away from the immersion. It was just very beautiful, very, very smooth. So now for the combat. The combat, we had a lot of choices of what we could do. We had forms, we had limits, attraction flows, flow motion, mech suits, shot locks, summons, anything, any kind of playstyle, guys, it had it there for you. My favorite thing about this, I'm going to start this off with Keyblade switching. You can switch your Keyblades on the fly, and currently in the demo we had 3 Keyblades equipped. I don't know if they're going to increase that or just keep it at 3 in the future full release of the game, but in the demo we can switch between Toy Story Keyblade, Monster Inc. Keyblade, and the Tangle Keyblade. The Tangle Keyblade was very OP in my opinion. It was so good to play. It kind of had the feel of Wisdom Form, very agile. You could slide to the side. It had a lot of like flashy moves kind of, and it had these mirror images that just did a ton of damage locked onto it, and you can summon each of these images just by dodging. So it was kind of incredible, but that also dropped frame rates, but we'll talk about that after. So the 3 Keyblade switching was really, really great. Another thing really good about it is that each Keyblade had form. So let's take the Monster Inc. Keyblade for example. When you're using it, you can change it into the 2 claws, and then from there it goes into the yo-yos. Now the really cool thing about that and the whole Keyblade switching is that if you transformed your Keyblade into the claws or the yo-yo, you could actually switch to the next Keyblade, build that one up, do what you want, and when you went back to the Monsters Inc. Keyblade, whatever form and its gauge that you left off with is still there. So it didn't just take it away. If you had the claws, you would start off with the claws again. I have a little kind of cutscene here I'm going to show you guys on that. So that was really interesting to see as well. So it wasn't just like a waste if you built it up and then you switched to Keyblade. So switching Keyblades, there wasn't really a punishment for it. It was just more of like, oh, there's a new type of enemy. Okay, I'm going to switch to the Mirage Staff because it does a lot better against this enemy. Or I'm going to switch to the Toy Story Keyblade because this does better against this kind of enemy. So it was really good to see that. Also, from the Keyblade switching, if you were in the different forms like the drill or the yo-yos, your magic was cast differently. So when you initially cast the magic as in your normal Keyblades without the transformations. They did like their normal thing. You can just throw them off the Keyblade towards the enemies, but everything else was really different when you did the drills, when you did the yo-yo. The magic was thrown out differently compared to the actual standard, just a flame ball or ice out of the front of the Keyblade. So that was really interesting to see as well. And also each form changed your shot lock. So your shot lock wasn't just a little bit of like a little lasers coming out. For the yo-yo, you seen a bunch of yo-yos coming out. The drill, you kind of like, I think Sora himself was actually flying through kind of like a teleportation kind of beams going around. I'm gonna have all that footage on the screen here. So Keyblade switching was actually a huge mechanic in the game, which is great to see, and it was nice to have it all on the fly. Anytime you want to change it, it put a lot of strategy and a lot of combos into the game. I try actually comboing Keyblade switch, so I would start a combo and then switch to a new Keyblade and see if it would continue into a combo, but it didn't. It kind of just changed the Keyblade and you would start that combo all over, which wasn't bad. Like I said, there was so much to do that it didn't really matter. It was kind of overwhelming at some points. But it was really interesting to see that you can store the Keyblades, change the magic of the Keyblade, and you can also change your shot lock. So all really good things that I thought went really well with the combat. So for the mech suits, I think the mech suits were actually a lot of fun. There was nothing really bad about it. Easy to control. It had very fast-paced thrust dodging. You can go left and right, back and forth very quickly. There was high gliding or thrusting into the air, so you can get a lot of aerial view. And also, each mech was very unique. Each one had its own kind of finisher, triangle. There was like little bombs you can throw around. The other one was a tackle, and the final one was 2 laser beams that charged up and shot towards the enemy. Well, not really laser beams. They were like projectiles, but each one was very unique, and the combat was very smooth. Everyone had a standard shooting a bunch of bullets, or you could just punch mechs in the face or Heartless with the mech suit itself. So the mech combat was a lot of fun, and I don't think it was kind of like a tedious thing. It was really cool to jump into a mech and just fight all the Heartless with it. I got nothing bad to say about the mechs. Another great thing to see was guard not just on the ground but also mid-air. So when I jumped in the air and I saw a projectile coming towards me, I could actually block that mid-air without a problem. And it actually kind of I think it also cancels some combos, so you can get out of a combo by using guard or dodging out of a combo. So that was really interesting to see as well. But it was just great to know that I could guard in the air and I'm not just a sitting pinata ready to be whacked by the enemies. So mid-air guard was a nice thing to see. It's kind of the same thing as in 0.2, but it wasn't like a reflect. Aqua was just more OP in that. Sora can just kind of block, and there you go, that's it. Alright, now that we talked about all the good, let's talk about the cons. Now, there is a lot of cons that I want to talk about. Some of them might not be as important as others, but I kind of just want to bring it all out there, especially with them saying that they're going to be looking at our videos to see what feedback they get. And I know a lot of us agreed on one thing. The main thing we all agreed on is the floaty combat. It was very floaty, guys. Sad to say, during the whole time when I was fighting Heartless, it felt very hard to be in one spot, especially when I was kind of combating one Heartless. You would see my character just drift off to the side, and I was so far away from the next one that I was just right beside a second ago. So it was very floaty, especially with aerial and ground. I found it weird. I don't know how to really describe it, but when I was in like an air combo, my character kind of got drifted towards the floor, and then I started doing ground combo, and I thought this was really awkward because I couldn't control what I wanted to do. It felt like the game was in control for me, and I really didn't like that. But floatiness was definitely an issue, and I hope that gets fixed for sure. Another thing too was the wall guidance. If you guys watched there in the demo, you would see that we can climb walls and shelves and all that. Whatever we could climb very easily, walk up to and just go straight up to, especially you can see that in Olympus right in the beginning. There was like this shiny white line that kind of just kept on shimmering through the walls saying, hey, you can run up this. Now, I don't know that's because of our build. It was a demo and it was supposed to be easily accessible to all I guess people who were to play it, but it was very, very distracting. I kind of want it to be something more subtle, or maybe just like part of the tutorial, or maybe you can toggle it on and off, but something had to be done because it was very distracting, and I kind of really didn't like being notified every second, hey, this wall, hey, this wall, hey, you can run on this wall. That was like a very big con for me as well, because it took away from the immersion, seeing that over and over and over. So less of that, or something very subtle compared to what they did, would be a lot better. Talking about the combat and the area as well, guys, the camera controls were very off in some situations. There were times where I was in a weird place and the camera got stuck in the leg of the Titan, or in Andy's room under the desk behind something, or when I was using certain limits or certain anything. It just kind of really got awkward to actually see what's on the screen. So the camera definitely needs to be fixed. It was one of the biggest cons for me as well, because it took away from a lot of the combat, especially outside of Annie's house near the bushes. The vision just disappeared completely. Like, it didn't push over the bush to show you what's going on. You kind of lost all vision completely. So camera controls does need a lot of work as well. So another thing about the environment and actually walking around, it felt like Sora was very slow. Trying to travel around everywhere, Sora felt heavy and not that fast, especially with how big the area is. It was kind of awkward to walk through everything, because you're thinking to yourself like, okay, wow, that store is all the way down there. It's going to take quite a bit to get there. Now, I know I didn't utilize everything that I had in my arsenal to go faster. I didn't want to use MP to create that icicle path to go all the way down with Blizzard. So I kind of just walked slowly towards everything. With how big the environment is, I feel like they should add something like 0.2 where Aqua got faster as you were running. So maybe they can put something like that in it. Maybe it was just early build. Maybe they will have some stuff later on which will allow faster traveling. But the traveling did seem a little bit slow in my personal opinion. So I would like to see something to be improved on that. Maybe I was just something I missed out on, so maybe you guys can point me in the right direction with that. But I really do want to see Sora be able to have something like Aqua had. I kind of like that idea of being able to go faster. It might take away from the immersion though when you see something like that, because the world was very beautiful, very open, and being able to walk at a normal pace or just jog or run was kind of nice, because you could really take everything in. So the whole sprint of Aqua would be kind of like a takeaway from that. But definitely something felt wrong about the way I was running through everything, how long it took. So I want to go back into the combat and talk about a couple of cons. One thing in the combat, the traction flows were very nice. They were more flashy. They were great for the iframes, but besides that, they were really long and unnecessary at some points. And the one I'm talking about specifically is the pirate ship. The pirate ship just seemed out of place, especially where it could be activated. It was just back and forth using X and square, and if Heartless were clueless, they would walk into it, but that's about it. I feel like that attraction flow needs a little bit of work, maybe some more love put into it. Maybe I personally don't know what to do with it, but I just felt awkward every time I used it. I was like, well, do we just wait till it's over, or do I just push triangle to get the damage in the iframe in there, and that's it? So I feel like that attraction flow needs some love. I know there's not much you can do about it, but I guess the option to turn it off if I don't want to see it on my command list to kind of clean up everything, that'd be nice as well. Also the combat, I want to talk about limits. Now, limits where they were for everything. Everything you did, you got a limit. You got a limit for spells, you got a limit for combat, but you also had these party limits which were randomly given to us. I think like a freebie more than anything. They're like our party members saying, hey, we're here, we want to help out. Like Goofy with his dash in the air, spirals, explosion, attacking to the ground with a shield. It was all flashy and nice, but it was very random and we had no control of it. Also, the limits were very long-winded, animated. There was no option to skip it, like the skipping command for the summons or for they call them links in this. So having the ability to skip the links was nice, the summons, but the limits, we weren't allowed to skip them. So Woody's ride or Woody and Buzz's rocket kind of got I guess repetitive and very boring after a while. We only played the game for like an hour and a half, but seeing the rocket over and over and over, it was like, hey, this is crazy, that's cool, look at Woody, look at Buzz. But then you're like, all right guys, hurry up, get on the rocket and let's do this, right? So I feel like they should add a button to actually skip it, just like they added the button for summons or links. The ability to actually skip through these random limits would be really great to speed up the process, or again, the ability to take away some limits in the option menu saying, hey, I don't want to see this limit appearing, would also be really good. So one of the last things I want to talk about also is links. Now, links were very interesting. Our first link was the Wreck-It Ralph, which honestly, I was so hyped to see Ralph in it. I was like, oh my god, this is great. And then I was like, oh, it's just a summon. It's not an actual world. So that kind of killed me inside. But I was happy enough to have it as a summon or link, as the way they call in this game. But The thing about them, which I felt was just really, really bad, is that one, they took a full MP bar. So you couldn't just go into combat, use a bunch of spells, and then have a little bit MP and summon Ralph or Ariel. You guys had to have a full MP bar to actually use it. So that means you don't have Cure, you don't have any of your spells after this summon is done. But the thing is, during this summon, you are able to get hit by the enemy. So while you're doing the animations with Ralph, you're building, you're going around, you're tackling everyone, you're able to be hit and lose HP. So the trade-off isn't that great. I feel like to waste all your MP, you should be able to be invincible during this moment, especially because it didn't seem like these summons were OP or the links were OP. They basically only did so much damage. Ralph did stun a lot of the enemies with his movements, tackling them, and the lights. I think the lights are what did most of the stunning. But when you got hit, you got hit. You had no way of doing anything else. You weren't in control of Sora while your summon was doing their thing. Like in the previous games, you were controlling the summon. So you had full control of the summon and not Sora himself. So one, you got hit and you had no control of anything else, so you couldn't really do anything, and you lost all your MP after that. So if that summon didn't impact the fight, you're kind of left with nothing afterwards. And the same thing with Ariel, the Lagoon time. Basically, you would drive in and out of the ground with Ariel. If you timed it properly, the higher you went, and if you can hit X, you can also do a lot of damage. And at the end of the animation, you basically created a fountain everywhere that Ariel dived in and out, created like a little splash area. So when you use the finisher, water would spout out of that. So you make like your own little lagoon time, your little show, your fountain and everything. So it was really flashy, very nice. But during all the animation, going in and out of the floor, even the finisher, you were able to get hit. So again, you lose all your MP, and during this link, you also lose your HP. So no MP, losing your HP, you're not invincible, just seems like a very bad idea. That just says to me, hey, I'm not going to be using these unless I'm playing for fun, because any serious combat or maybe even critical mode, if there is critical mode, this would screw us over more than anything. And I feel like that really puts a downfall on using links, and it kind of just pushes it away and say, hey, well, I'm not going to use that because of how much it costs versus how much it rewards. Now, there was other things in the game that kind of were like not that great, but I don't think it was worth mentioning. Everything I did mention were like big serious things that I want to be changed. Like I said, the floatiness, I know I didn't really explain it that great, but after Sora did like a combo or anything, he kind of just stood in midair and kind of dropped awkwardly to the floor, even just a normal jump. So the floatiness in the combos really felt weird, just lingering in the air. And then sometimes some of your stuff made you float to the side, and then you would linger, especially with the air dash. The air dash was very... I don't like how they end. You would jump in the air, push square, go flying forward, and then you would just stop and then slowly drop. It just took away from, I guess, the feel of moving around. Like, you wouldn't want to use it to travel because it just didn't feel right, and it didn't seem like you were getting anywhere with that. So stuff like that were my biggest concerns. Out of all of it, though, I was very excited to play the game. I know that you can get really distracted with all the beautiful scenes, the cutscenes, the flashiness. This has to be one of the best Kingdom Hearts games for flashiness. Like, it looked absolutely beautiful. The environment was so rich and all that. I know I talked about all this, but I just want to kind of do like a little recap here. This is definitely one of the best Kingdom Hearts games I played so far, and I've also seen. Everything was just so nicely put together, and they really focused on that. I just really hope that they fix the little bits we talked about here and there, because a lot of us content creators, we kind of had the same cons. We all talked about the same things, so hopefully they do address that. They did say they'll be watching our videos, the people who did attend, and seeing our opinions, our impressions, and maybe something will come out of it. Hopefully it does, because I really love the Kingdom Hearts series. It helped me through a lot of my hard times back in my childhood, and this is why I have this game so dear to my heart, and I will always love it, because it got me through the rough times of just being a kid. So I want to say thank you, Square Enix, for inviting me to this, because this was something I would never ever think would happen, and it definitely is a big moment in my life and will always be there. So thank you guys for the opportunity, and thank you for everyone that is part of my community. You guys made this possible, so I want to see the best for this game. I know I might not have went into details much as like the other YouTubers went into, because I am not that knowledgeable as everyone else, but I do know that I love this game and I enjoy it, and hopefully something that I talked about here gets through, and hopefully the end result of this Kingdom Hearts 3 just comes out to be one of the best in the entire series. Like, it has a lot to live up to, so I hope it does. I really do. But that is pretty much everything, guys. My impression of this game was just absolutely loved it. I could really fall in love and play hours and hours. I wish I had more time. I tell you, I got to play the Xbox version for 45 minutes, and then I got to play the PS4 version for the full hour and a half, and I still felt like it wasn't enough. I could learn so much more if I actually had the time. I want to do more of exploration. I want to see the love they put into it, because listening to Nomura and everyone talk about the game, you can see how much they care, enough to actually bring us content creators out there and let us have a chance to show how much we care about the game. Especially during the event, Nomura walked around and watched a lot of us play the game. Like, he was interested, and not just like, hey, I did my conference, there's the games, and he took off. No, they actually walked around and they watched everyone. They were putting smiles. They were just really loving our reaction. So you know they care about this game, and it's not just for the publicity, but more just like to see, hey, this is the community I created. This is my baby, and everyone loves it. It's really great to see, guys. I'm gonna end this video here because I'm kind of just babbling, and I want to leave this for my impression of the actual event itself. But there's a lot of love in this game. There's a lot of love in this community, and I hope it does continue to grow, because I see a lot of potential in Kingdom Hearts 3, and I know that I could be talking about so much more, but the more I get into it and the more closer we get to the release, I will be going into this as much as I can. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you agree with anything, don't forget to share the video, especially if you agree with some of the cons that I went over. If you guys do want to leave anything else, leave it down in the comment section. I will be making probably another video if I missed anything, talking about little bits here and there. If you want anything explained, I'll also do the same, but this had to been one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life, and even with all the little bits here and there of the cons, I still had a blast playing the game, and I feel like all these things can easily be fixed. So if you guys did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit that like button, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Keep on smiling, and I'll see you in the next one.